Final Stop Brazil, Book 2, Life After Hell, Chapter 62, Amor in Säo Paulo. Moraes was white, older than me, and absolutely not my type. But I scolded myself that I had to finally bury the hope for my black dream man. After all, Moraes had a good character. I was not getting younger, and that I didn't want to live alone, I had already decided in Salvador. Unfortunately, I had to realize very quickly that the good character, his intelligence, his work, his attitude, was one big fake. The room was comfortable, had everything one needed, a small kitchen, and outside was a cabin with a hot shower. I could make coffee whenever I wanted, and felt in the company of Donna Vera and her family, who practically lived next door to me, much better than in this secluded cottage in Itinga. In contrast to the company of Moraes, whose first lie was his appearance, and the second lie about the computer. Horrified, I realized that there was none. I was forced to buy one to be able to continue working. Luckily, I found one in a second-hand shop for 460 reais. I was furious because the money was meant for my children. After all, Christmas was not far away. But that was not all. Very quickly, I found out that Moraes was not working, nor was he intelligent. Instead, he was a selfish and arrogant asshole. He was stinking lazy, and the worst of all, he was not even in his dreams willing to be fostering a child. With his attitude, he lost all chances with me right from the beginning. 30 reais a month I paid extra to Donna Vera for the internet connection, and under a significant delay, I could start my work. Day and night I worked like mad to realize my plans, now determined to do it by myself. Sometimes I worked 24 hours on one piece, since I could now continue writing my book. I took new products to export into my program, of which I believed they would sell in foreign countries, wrote texts for them, translated them into German, English, and Spanish, copied the photos the traders had given to me, and put them on the internet for global ads. Using Skype, I was in contact with many sellers and potential buyers. I made lots of new contacts. Beneath them was an exporter specialist who was very helpful and gave me lots of advice. In between, I learned Incoterms, tried to teach them Ratinho also. I studied the import and export conditions of Brazil. Again and again, the German contacted me in between, who was up to now the only contributor of money, and had, contrary to all expectations, transferred the second $500. So I had to keep him in line. He sent me photos of children and rattan furniture I should offer for sale on the Brazilian market. But in his Polish company, nobody was sure if the prices were in euro or US dollar, or how the delivery conditions were. Everything was completely without organization. Without accurate data, I promoted these items, but there was no specific request in any case at first. The only one who bugged me at my work was Moraes, who sat idly in the room, thinking about how he should pass the day and what he could do the next day. His gastronomy cooking pots, which he actually possessed, were spread all over the room without being sold. And after Julia saw them, she explained to me that these things were sold in the interior for 15 reais each. I panicked that I had to pay the next rent alone. The washing and cleaning was also my task, because Moraes didn't get the idea to move a finger. I was in boundless rage, anger at myself for letting him fool me like this. How he described himself, he had created an impression of himself which was exactly the opposite of what he really represented. Thus, we didn't even have a friendly basis. We were too different. He represented some views, such as an old Nazi. He was actually a stupid jerk, arrogant, and he hated samba. After the first big bang, right on the first day, after I discovered the lie about the computer, soon followed the second one, when I made clear to him loudly that I was not sitting at the computer for fun, and he had to wash his laundry, at least. He wasn't very clean either, as I realized in horror. I never saw him washing his underwear, and made clear to him that he had to do it. Finally, we lived, unfortunately, in the same room. Apparently, he wasn't using underwear every day, but then he should wash his pants every day, I argued. However, it shook me with disgust. Sure, his disappointment was big also, when he realized that we would never be a couple. He started to bite back, and complained about my music, which I needed when I sat for hours on the computer. Since I was 24 hours online, and this I had to be because of my international contacts, and at all possible means, such as MSN, emails, Skype, of course, it could not be avoided that sometimes private contacts were created. At night, I regularly chatted live with one man, of all from Salvador. During the day, I had nice conversations with my business partners, wanting to sell their items through me. They were all very nice people, and I had lots of fun doing my work. In the mornings, I regularly held a chat with my former working colleagues, writing to me every day how much they missed me and my witty talks, and of course with Fatinho, who was busy working for me and now involved with all the articles as well. My offer to him was, everything you sell is your money. Donna Vera and her sister were always very friendly, supported me when I forgot to take in my washed and dried laundry, or even supplied me with coffee. Whenever I needed new credit for Skype, Donna Vera gave me her credit card to recharge online after it emerged that Moraes didn't even have a bank account. Moraes was more than irritated, and we actually crashed on a daily basis. He didn't know me, though, when I got mad. Compared to me, every Brazilian woman was a tame little sheep. He was noticeably afraid of me, and knuckled under pathetically. Due to the pressure I put on him, he finally went to get a job. I could breathe again, now, since I was alone, at least during the day. But now he thought on insisting upon any rights and changed to a different tone. You can listen to music all day, but when I'm at home, the music is off. Oh, really? Yet again, another war declaration. Julia had realized long since that everything was going wrong, and suddenly came to me with the idea that I still hadn't met her friend Tony, whom I should have known a long time, the marriage candidate. I followed her advice and got in contact with him via Occult. He wrote back immediately that he really wanted to meet me. During all this time, I was still in contact with Clayton. When I had told him that I moved to Säo Paulo, the response came straight away, in the middle of my front page of the Occult. This is a great coincidence. I have also moved from Rio to Säo Paulo. Give me a call so we can arrange to meet us. You can call me by our call. Additionally, he put his landline and cell phone number on my Occult page. This occurred on the same day when I actually met with Tony. This one sent me emails and messages with declarations of love, which reminded me very strongly of the Baianos, and I put the brakes down on him to slow him down. Tony was a language teacher and had many important relationships. Julia was convinced that he could help me with my visa. Since he was giving lessons until late at night, we agreed to meet afterwards. I cheekily suggested carrying my toothbrush to visit him. Of course, he found the idea very good. We met, took the bus to his place. He bought a lot of Fias and Coca-Cola. After all, he was a bachelor. We had some interesting conversations. Although Tony was not really my type, I liked him, but I shrugged scared when he mentioned that he was a Nigerian and not South African, as Julia had said. But he was one of the honest and hard-working ones anyhow. I felt nothing when we slept together, and I asked myself if I would ever feel anything again. Due to my nightly absence, the situation at home became more tense. Of course. Ignoring Maurice, I continued with my work. Contrary to his promise, Tony didn't call me. I received no email of him. When I opened my Orkut, I believed to know why. Because you can watch every day and of every friend the visitors in the Orkut. It was not hard to imagine that Tony didn't quite appreciate the message of Clayton, especially since Clayton went even one step further. Again, he had asked for my phone call. He had also commented one of my photos I had shot on the birthday of Icaro, with a table filled with food. Looks delicious. Next time you let me know before, so I can come with you. Thanks, Clayton. That was about it with Tony then. I was not particularly sad, just a little disappointed because Tony had actually promised me to help me with my visa. When I called him online, I wrote to him right away and asked him what had happened, why he had not called me. His answers were only some excuses. However, he gave me the tip to go onto the website of the federal police. There would be an application form for the law of amnesty of illegal aliens in Brazil. I was flabbergasted. Why could no one in Salvador give me this information? Neither the Policia Federal nor the Asistencia Social, no one. Tony wrote to me again I should fill out this form immediately. With much hope, I tried to do just that, but there seemed to be a mistake on the side, because I could not send the form. Later I realized why. I was much too late. The 80-day period before the 30th of December was exceeded. So my hope for a visa was lost for now. The only chance I had was if this law may be extended to the following year. Tony was offline and I heard nothing more of him. Instead began the habit of talking with Clayton over the phone in the evenings, who was bugging me always when I finally would come to visit him. I rejected because I had too much to do. My work came first. Another big row with Maurice, and he immediately demanded back the only thing he had ever invested in my work, and probably had gotten it cheap or for free and second-hand, the stabilizer, which I needed since the voltage in Brazil is not very steady. Immediately, on the spot, he wanted it back, knowing that he stopped my work like that, and me losing time again. I couldn't work without a device. There were not enough outlets in the room, and the cables were not long enough to plug them in one of the outlets. At 9:30 at night, I still had very much work to do, and could have wrung Maurice's neck for it. Of course I didn't. Instead, took the opportunity and called Clayton, announcing my visit. Asked him to explain me how I could reach there. Maurice, who was sitting inside the room, firm in the belief that he really wiped me out now, made a face that he had expected all, but not this, and probably it was him now who felt the desire to wring my neck. Surprised over my spontaneous visit, Clayton gave me his address, but added that I should hurry to get on my way because at midnight metro and trains would stop the transport. Well, there was fun ahead. But I was so angry I would not have injured Maurice in this room. So I just grabbed my bag and ran to the bus stop exactly how I was. First, I had to take the bus from Rio Pequeno to Consolação. Came off there, ran across the Avenida Paulista to the metro station. 3 times I changed the metro, crossed almost the center of Säo Paulo, always accompanied by the calls of Clayton, probably only now realizing about the lateness of the hour, and it became clear to him that I was moving at this time alone across one of the most dangerous cities in the world. However, I had not the impression of danger, because Säo Paulo is lively, with hustling and bustling day and night. The metros were still occupied with many people, and security guards were everywhere. In Salvador, I felt much less safe. There, you cannot dare to run around on the streets after 10 o'clock without risking your life. Clayton called me every 10 minutes to be informed whereabout I was. But he didn't know me yet when I was in action. At midnight I arrived at the railway station, and by now his calls were getting on my nerves. I rejected his call. It rang again. Clayton, I am... Further, I didn't proceed. Hola, Rita, ¿cómo estás? Who? For a moment I had to collect myself. Oh yes, my new business partner from Colombia. Everyone at the station turned around and listened how I was doing my business negotiations in the middle of the night in Spanish at the train station, to bark only minutes later in Portuguese into the phone, Clayton, you get on my nerves. The train is not here yet. When I was finally on the train, his next call came, and all the passengers enjoyed our conversation. Clayton's voice sounded tired now, so I asked him suspiciously to get on his way to pick me up from the train station in Sao Paulo. You're not sleeping, are you? From the station, he didn't want to pick me up. You're rude, lazy bone without manners. How am I supposed to know you are paying visits in the middle of the night when normal people are sleeping? Don't say I didn't warn you that I am the Deuter Alema, crazy German. Yes, I found out now, the hard way, he conceded resignedly. Finally, we agreed that I took a taxi to his house. I gave my phone to the taxi driver and let Clayton describe him how he must drive. All, of course, on the costs of Clayton. Just before 1 in the morning, Clayton awaited me on his doorstep and welcomed me with a loving embrace. He was a dear host, offered me food and drink, showed me his posh apartment. We talked like two old friends. He told me that I should feel at home, and I certainly did. Took a shower first, then changed into one of his t-shirts, and we talked about God and the world after I climbed into bed next to him. During our conversation, Clayton fell asleep. A bit confused, I also turned over on my side and dozed off. The narrow bed was still better than sharing the room with Maurice, where I had to be always on guard. Although I had put the beds far apart, I woke up one night and had to kick him out of my bed. Since then, I slept very poorly, if at all. Now I was reawakened also, because Clayton was awake again and put his arm around me at first, and shortly after he pressed his body against mine. The next thing was the best sex I ever had since my release. Afterwards we fell asleep, but not for long, because his phone rang at 8 o'clock in the morning. It was his boss, Dodo of Bishorty. He had to go to rehearsal. I quickly showered. He still brought me to the bus stop, waited with me for the bus, and when it arrived, a quick kiss, and that was it. We were not in love, but it felt good. Near the station, I indulged on a rich breakfast, and then went back to the Avenida Paulista, in an outlet boutique. I bought a new pair of jeans and 2 shirts, dirt cheap. For me, Säo Paulo was not only safer, but also much cheaper than Salvador, not only when it came to clothes, even food. Miraculously, I lasted here with my money much longer to make ends meet. In a computer store, I finally bought for 20 reais a stabilizer. Maurice, I really need you for nothing. Then suddenly, I got an idea. Spontaneously, I made a detour to the restaurant, Zuginho. If I didn't do it now, I would never see him again. Jefferson. Arrived, I found out, however, that he was not there. I wondered whether he was still working there. But to ask the other waiters, I lost the courage to do so. Was it still important anyhow? I didn't lose more time there, but took the next bus home. Maybe it was better that way.